It's not every day you find yourself in a situation that feels straight out of a twisted soap opera, but somehow, here I am. I'm 34 years old, and for the past 3 months, I've been dating a man I'll call Dave. He's 43, a really great guy, and things between us have been going pretty well. We've reached that point in the relationship where meeting each other's kids seems like the logical next step. My 2 children, a 16-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, met Dave and everything went smoothly. I was relieved. Then came the day I met his kids. He has a 15-year-old who identifies as non-binary, and they were sweet, respectful, and easy to get along with. But then his son walked into the room, and my heart sank. In that split second, I felt a wave of nausea. I knew him. Not in the way you know someone's name or from passing them in a store. I knew him intimately. He wasn't just my boyfriend's son, he was a guy I had hooked up with a few months ago. It felt like the ground had fallen out from under me. I sat there, smiling awkwardly, trying to keep my cool while my brain was going haywire. I met his son on a dating app 4 months ago, and we had hooked up a few times. At the time, he told me he was 25. To be fair, he looked 25. I wasn't searching for a serious relationship back then, I had just gotten out of one and was casually dating. We had a fling, and that was that, until now. Now, he's standing in front of me, and I realize he's not 25. He's only 19. 19. A teenager. My boyfriend's teenage son, at that. I felt sick. Disgusted. Ashamed. What in the world had I gotten myself into? I should have seen the red flags when he said he was 25 but had that youthful look. I ignored my instincts then, but now with the truth slapping me in the face, I couldn't ignore it anymore. My stomach turned over and over as the reality set in. I had slept with my boyfriend's son before I even met my boyfriend. The timing was so awful that it almost felt like a cruel cosmic joke. I spent the rest of the evening in a daze, playing the polite girlfriend and interacting with his family, but all I could think about was that moment of recognition. After I left his house, I went home and sat on the couch, trying to piece together what I should do. Should I tell Dave? Should I keep it to myself and hope it never comes up? What if his son says something? The more I thought about it, the more panicked I became. I had to tell him. There was no way I could live with this bomb ticking away, ready to explode. The next day, I texted Dave, asking him to come over. I told him we needed to talk. Waiting for him to arrive felt like an eternity. When he walked through the door, I knew this conversation was going to wreck everything. I could barely look him in the eye as I prepared to tell him. When he sat down, I took a deep breath and blurted it out. I told him about the dating app, about hooking up with his son, and how I had no idea who he really was at the time. I felt the shame rise in my chest as I spoke, every word making the situation feel more real, more unbearable. Dave sat there in silence for a moment, processing everything. His reaction wasn't what I expected. At first, he was just stunned. He didn't yell, didn't storm out, but the pain in his eyes was obvious. He demanded to know why I would sleep with someone so young. Honestly, it sounded disgusting even to me as I explained it. His son had lied about his age, I said, and while that didn't excuse anything, it was the truth. I thought he was older, but the moment I learned the truth, it didn't matter. The damage was done. Dave didn't yell, but the silence between us was deafening. He called his son downstairs, and I felt like I was in the middle of the most awkward, painful confrontation of my life. His son admitted to lying about his age on the dating app, but he didn't have a reason for it. He just shrugged and said he was sorry. Dave's anger shifted to his son, and for a brief moment, I felt relieved that the weight wasn't entirely on me. But then, Dave turned back to me, and I knew it was over. There was no salvaging this. The betrayal was too big, too raw. I told him that I understood if he wanted to end things, and he agreed. We both knew that there was no way we could continue this relationship after what had happened. The trust was gone, obliterated by an unfortunate series of events that neither of us could have predicted. As I walked out of his house, I could hear Dave yelling at his son, frustration and anger spilling out in every direction. I knew that this wasn't just a breakup for him, it was a betrayal from his own child as well. The guilt weighed heavy on me as I left, knowing that I had played a part in tearing apart this father-son relationship, even if unintentionally. Now, as I sit in my apartment, the realization of what I've done is hitting me like a freight train. I can't stop replaying the events in my head, wondering how I ended up here. I was just trying to move on from a previous relationship, to meet new people and start fresh. But instead, I walked right into a disaster. I've decided to block both of them, to remove myself from their lives completely. I know there's no fixing this, and dragging it out will only cause more pain for all of us. It's the least I can do after everything that's happened. The whole situation feels surreal, like something out of a bad dream. But it's not a dream. It's my reality now, and I'll have to live with it. Moving forward, I know I'll be more careful. I'll listen to my gut when something feels off, and I'll take my time getting to know people before jumping into anything physical. I never want to be in a situation like this again, hurt, ashamed, and guilty for something that could have been avoided if I had just paid attention to the warning signs. The hardest part isn't just losing Dave though. It's the regret that lingers, the what-ifs that swirl around in my head. What if I had never gone on that dating app? What if I had never met his son? What if I had just been honest with myself from the start? I'll never know, and I'll have to live with that uncertainty. For now, all I can do is move on, learn from my mistakes, and hope that someday, I'll find a relationship that doesn't come with so much baggage. One where trust isn't shattered before it even has the chance to fully form. But for now, I'm just trying to pick up the pieces of my life and move past the mess I've made.